Friday.
God. Is this all the people that are here?
Yes, we're going to start the service now. So at this point, you can mute yourself or at least be quiet at your end while the service is going on. We'll have a social hour at the end.
Good morning and Merry Christmas.
Hello.
I'm Janet Bush, the minister at the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. Our society belongs to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. If you are new this morning, welcome. If you'd like to, you may fill out a welcome card. The link is in the chat, and we will add you to our contact list. This is the third time that Christmas has fallen on a Sunday during my ministry here. The first time was in 2011. The second was in 2016. This time, Cathy Lilly graciously offered to host a Zoom meeting with time for conversation afterwards. So we recorded the service itself a few days ago. Ellen and her daughter, Julia, both prepared music for this service, and we recorded it together only to discover later that the recording had failed. So you will have the pleasure this morning of hearing some recordings from Christmas Eve of 2021, along with hymns sung by the choirs of the UU churches in Laconia, New Hampshire and White Plains, New York. And I have also borrowed a little from the two previous Christmas morning services. A big thank you to Ellen and Julia and to Ed Olmsted for all their work on that recording, to Jessica for all of her help, and for preparing the videos for the music in take two. And thanks again to Cathy Lilly for hosting. It is Christmas Day in the morning. We will hear music and stories and poems and reflect. I will begin with something by Dick Gilbert, with my own additions to his words, and inspiration for the chalice lighting comes from David Breeden. Both of them are UU ministers. David serves in the large church, the large UU church in Minneapolis, and Dick retired in 2005 from the UU church in Rochester. Our first two interludes feature Carol Hutter on viola and Ellen's daughter, Julia Urbank, on vocals. Good morning and Merry Christmas. I'm Janet Bush, the minister. Good morning and Merry Christmas. I'm Janet Bush, the minister at the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. Our society belongs to
That's it. Okay.
Mary had a little baby wrapped in swaddling clothes. Every time the little baby cried, she'd rock him in a weary land. Ain't that rockin' all night? Ain't that rockin' all night? Ain't that rockin' all night long? Wise men came from the east, guided by a star, with gold and myrrh and frankincense, while she rocked him in a weary land. Ain't that rockin' all night? Ain't that rockin' all night? Ain't that rockin' all night long? Herod heard the news, the baby he did seek. The Lord told Mary, just you rock him in a weary land. Ain't that rockin' all night? Ain't that rockin' all night? Ain't that rockin' all night long? Ain't that rockin' all night? Ain't that rockin' all night? Ain't that rockin' all night long?
Gifts that matter have no weight. They are without substance. Gifts that matter most are given to us by the hand of life in grace. Moonlight on fresh fallen snow, good memories of Christmases past, gone but not forgotten, good books, good music, a call or a card from someone we cherish, the gift of thought, the gift of freedom, the gift of life itself. Gifts that matter have no weight. And you may want to light your own chalice or candle this morning. I'm going to light one for all of us right now. May the cold of ignorance be dispelled by the warmth of compassion. May the hardening of hearts be softened by wonder and amazement. And may the darkness of the season be dispelled by its festivals of light.
chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men.
This reading comes from, it's an excerpt, just a couple lines from Nothing Personal by James Baldwin. He wrote it in 1964. For nothing is fixed forever and forever and forever. It is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them. To our own children, offspring, if we have them, to the offspring of our neighbors, near and all around the world. Our own grandchildren are here this Christmas. The oldest, Cassandra, is 17. She's a senior in high school. Kylie's 14 and Caleb is 7. And the first time we had Christmas together, the girls were just 8 and 5. Having them here is a gift that has no weight and is given by the hand of life in grace. And Christmas is for old memories and for making new ones. So I invite you this morning to think about your own memories from this time of year and maybe to share them with one another after the service. I think of Christmases with my grandparents, and I think of my parents. My father and his wife Jane lived on the edge of 70 acres of undeveloped land in Westford, Massachusetts. They had put all of it except the house lot under a conservation easement. And after they died, it went to the Mass Audubon Society as part of the Neshoba Brook Sanctuary. Their property was, like much of that part of the state, farmland gone fallow. Stone walls ran through the woods, they probably still do, woods that had once been farmed or used to pasture cows. The land closest to their house when they bought the land was still open pasture that was slowly being reclaimed by the trees. And white pines came first. So every year my father would choose one to cut for their Christmas tree. Now, white pines are not a conventional choice for a Christmas tree. The needles are long, and on the young trees, there's a lot of space between the branches. But they made pretty Christmas trees in their own way. They were like my father, like both of his parents, a little austere and understated. And I will say that after 40 years, it was very hard for them to find a small enough tree to get into their house. My husband Booker and I got married the week before Christmas in 1976. The following year, in 1977, my mother sent us 2 small boxes of ornaments as an anniversary present. And we still have most of them, and some of them are on that tree. They are tangible reminders of her and of the young people Booker and I were back then. We couldn't really afford a Christmas tree. It was cheaper to drive up to Massachusetts from New Haven to choose one for free. And for several years after that, we got a little white pine tree behind my father's house, trudging quietly with him through cold woods and pastures becoming woods that were sometimes snow-covered and sometimes not. And I remember one particular year when it was snowing, when we went out to cut our tree. That was over 40 years ago. White pines can grow as much as 2 feet per year. So at even half that rate, trees that we passed over for the right one to cut 40 years ago would be touching the sky by now. I wonder how many are left. And I haven't been back there in a very long time. So again, what memories do you have? Maybe they're memories like those quiet walks in winter woods, or memories of celebrations, or of people who shaped the person you are today. Memories that invite you to ponder how time passes, how it goes by. This read This reading comes from, it's an excerpt, just a couple lines from Nothing Personal by James Baldwin. He wrote it in 1964. This reading For our meditation, we have something written by Linda Barnes. Suspended between all that was and all that might be, we struggle to find this very moment, to live this very moment. Let us sit in silence then and savor this moment. Let us relish this time, this between time where past meets future. And let us harbor a faith that reminds us that right now, right here, is enough. For our meditation, time goes by. I hope you enjoyed seeing that reminder of what things were like 2 Christmases ago. It's probably a symptom of aging, but I think about time going by, not just at this time of year, but also during our summer week in New Hampshire. Behind the house where we stay is another expanse of woods. These are also woods that are under a conservation easement, woods for which my cousins and siblings and I are now responsible. My stepmother's family has owned that property for about 100 years, a house and cottages on the eastern side of Lake Winnipesaukee. Lake Winnipesaukee is a big lake by New England standards, 20 miles long, 9 miles across at the widest part. And to our west, about a mile out, is Cow Island, and then just south of Cow is the wide part of the lake that's called the Broads, that stretches from east to west. And so beyond the Broads, we see the far shoreline and the gentle, worn mountains beyond it. Those mountains, far in the distance, have sprouted condominiums since the first time I saw them. The lake has spawned faster and faster motorboats, jet skis, and most recently, pontoon party boats. Many of the cottages and modest homes that line the shoreline have morphed into mansions. And the younger cousins I got to know in my teens now have grown children and have begun acquiring grandchildren. It's still a magical place. And we can trace the arc of the sun, beginning where it rises behind the house and ending where it sets across the lake. We can literally, on a summer day, watch time go by. We have spectacular sunsets there, sometimes night after night. Everyone in the family takes sunset pictures, which is possibly even a bit of a competition. I have 2 of them on my phone. One is all grays and blues and lemon pink. The other is full of rose and purple. Some nights, the sky blushes lavender, deep blue, gray, yellow, and 100 shades of pink and red as the sun descends. Close to the horizon, the sun becomes a bright orb, glowing a stunning, unearthly neon color of red and yellow and orange. And the bottom tip of that flaming circle touches the treetops and disappears. And at that point, the rate of descent really speeds up quickly, and more quickly that orb sinks below the distant hills until nothing is left but a sliver that melts away into the shadow of the tree line. Nothing is fixed forever and forever and forever. It is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. That was James Baldwin. And Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was another poet that we've heard from this morning. Longfellow was probably the most beloved and well-known US poet of the 19th century. And it was Longfellow who wrote the words to the hymn at the beginning of the service, "I heard the bells on Christmas Day." He wrote them on Christmas Day of 1863. The country was divided in a brutal war between North and South. And in despair, I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace and earth to all good men. Longfellow had other reasons for despair. His oldest son, Charles, had joined the Union Army and had been killed in March of that year. And his beloved wife, Fanny, had died 2 years earlier, leaving him their now remaining 5 children. So what changed for him between the despair in verse 3 and the resolve in verse 4, when the bells ring out and declare that wrong shall fail and right prevail? What changed his mood? I like to imagine that his 3 young daughters pushed their way into his study and jumped into his lap, crying, "Merry Christmas, Papa." Time goes by. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them. And because of that, there is always hope. I hope your day and the rest of the holiday season bring you moments of hope and moments of joy. May it be so for us all this day and as time goes by. Let Christmas come and go in peace.